Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Refinishing Furniture. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Monica and I refinish furniture for a profit. I am here to give you ideas to refinish your own furniture at home, or if you're like me and would like to make some extra cash on the side, stick around and I'll show you how. This is probably my third or fourth cedar chest that I have ever worked on. However, I have never refinished one with a top cushion. So I will be doing a little upholstery because as you can see, the fabric on this bad boy is well loved. I will also be replacing the legs with a brand new constructed base, and finally, I will be painting the box a pretty color to match the fabric. I'm going to start off by removing the screws that attach the cushion to the top. Once I have the cushion off, I'm going to set it aside so I can work on it later. I will also be removing the legs because we will not be using them anymore. And lastly, I will remove the hardware and decorative molding, which I will replace with a new one. Now, if you're new to refinishing furniture and you have any questions about your own projects, let me know in the comments down below. I had a commenter on one of my shorts saying that I had spent too much money in tools and it was not worth refinishing furniture. So what I will say to that is yes, tools are very expensive and it is an investment, but I've had my tools for a long time and they have paid for themselves in the long run. For the most part now, all I pay for is furniture, paint, primer, and hardware. So for instance, this chest I actually found on Facebook Marketplace and I only paid $15 for it. So my initial investment on this piece is pretty low. I will be using Bundo to patch up any big scratches and holes left behind by the lift and veneer. This will also give me a flat surface so I can reattach the new molding later on. Once the Bondo dried, I sanded it down with 180 grit sandpaper, and then I used another Bondo product to patch up more superficial scratches. Once I smoothed down the glazing putty, I wiped down the entire piece and I was finally ready for primer. I am using an oil-based primer to make sure I will not have any yellowing or bleeding. It does take a little longer to dry, but it's totally worth it. I'm using a roller to apply the primer because I don't want to put an oil-based product through my sprayer. But if you decide to use it on your sprayer, just remember to run mineral spirits or paint thinner through the gun to clean it out. While the primer is drying, I'm going to go ahead and measure out all the dimensions for my base. Now, this is my first time building a base, so my hubby was there to assist me. I also watched Katie Scott in one of her YouTube videos building a base, and I believe she watched DIY Wife. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a link down below for both videos so you can get a more thorough explanation of this process. Once I had all my pieces cut out, it was time to make the pocket holes. And for this, I'm using the 720 Pro Craig pocket hole jig. Wow, that is a mouthful. Super easy tool to use and definitely a must have, especially because I have quite a few pieces that will need bases built to get them off the ground. Uh-oh. Oh no, my battery died. While my battery was charging, I switched over to sanding the dry primer with 220 grit sandpaper. Hear me out when I tell you it is so important that you do not skip this part or you will end up with orange-like texture on your finished piece. Remember that we used a roller to prime and I don't care how good your technique is, it will leave texture. So don't make this amateur mistake and always sand between coats. So now that my battery is fully charged, I'm going to go ahead and start putting the base together. I use the indicated pocket hole screws and glue to assemble the base. However, I will not be gluing the base to the chest just in case somebody wants to take it off later on and work on it. Once I've put a handful of these bases together, I'll definitely give you guys a more thorough tutorial as to how to build these bases because I've definitely noticed that a lot of the vintage pieces that don't have legs tend to sell a lot better once they have a base, and obviously that will bring more money into your pocket. I went with a warm paint wash to mimic a different wood species. Obviously, as you can see, this is poplar, but I really wanted to mimic red oak. I debated a long time if I was going to use a penetrating oil-based stain or a glazing stain, so I did a couple swatches on a scrap piece of the same wood, and I decided to go with the paint wash. It looks a little flat here, but once it dries, you can definitely see more of that wood grain popping through. I almost forgot to add the new trim, so here I'm just cutting it to size, and I did use the old trim to measure the new one. This trim was about 8 feet long and it was only $6. Now, since I was going to paint over the trim, I decided to use glue and staples to attach it to the front of the chest. Then I repeated the same process of patching and priming. So finally, it is time to begin painting, and for this, I am using a leftover paint that I had from another project. This is an off-white with a gray undertone which matches the background color of the fabric, so it goes perfect with my whole theme. It is time to upholster the bench. Now, as you can see, there is no way to reuse the fabric or the cushion for that matter. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this and begin removing all the staples. This part of the process is very tedious, so if you've ever wondered why upholstery is so expensive, this is why. And just to note, what I'm doing to this bench is pretty basic. So just imagine how much more complex it can be with a different project. Can we just take a quick second and talk about the fact that Joann's Fabrics is going to be closing? I believe they said by May all the stores are going to be closed. I am so upset because I typically buy my fabric from there. So for instance, this fabric that I got is typically anywhere from $45 to $65 a yard, but because I got the end of the bolt, I only paid $7 for it. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys loved shopping from Joann's or if you guys have any other suggestions where we can buy fabric from. So my camera died, but I went ahead and put 4 anchor points on each side. And once I have my anchor points, I can go ahead and start stapling all along the edge. hinge, making sure that I'm pulling tight. Before I attached the base, I went ahead and did it 2 full coats of water-based poly for protection. So I know a lot of you guys like to get a full breakdown of costs for furniture flipping, so I'm going to give you the numbers for this specific makeover. I bought the cedar chest on Facebook Marketplace for $15. That's really on the low end of purchasing furniture, especially with the current market. Paint was about $7. I only used about a quarter of a container, which was $28. This is from Lily Moon Paint. My primer was $4. Top coat, $5. For the pools, I took them from another project, so it's going to be $0. The lumber for the base was a total of $35, even though I still have a little bit of wood left to make another 2 legs for another piece. I also paid $7 for the fabric, $15 for the foam, and $10 for miscellaneous items such as glue, screws, sandpaper, wood filler, etc. So in total, my investment was $98. I am going to be listing this for $350. So at the end of it, I'm going to be able to get a profit of $252. So this is it for this video. I hope you like this transformation. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I will see you guys next time for another furniture flip. Bye-bye.